Hello Hwa Chong students, I am Mr. Kelvin Tan. Today I'll be using the demand and supply framework in order to analyze what is a tax incidence. Okay, so the first thing you should do is always to draw the supply and demand diagram. What you do is that you label the axis, okay, which is price and quantity. You draw a regular supply curve which is upward sloping, as well as a demand curve which is downward sloping. Before you do anything else in price determination, it's a useful habit to always note the original price and the original quantity, which is given by the intersection of the supply and demand. Let's call this P0 and Q0. Okay, we are now ready to analyze what happened when the government imposed a specific tax on this market. Now, a specific tax will basically shift the supply curve upwards in a parallel manner. So let's do it here. Okay, so let's call this S0, shifting it upwards, S1. The vertical distance between the two supply curve is the per unit tax. Let's call this T. So it's T dollars per unit of this good. Okay, this is what a specific tax actually means. So you can see, right, after the tax is imposed, okay, S1 now cuts the demand curve at this particular point, which gives you PC. Let's call this QT. Now, why do I use PC? This new price where S1 cuts the demand curve is the price that consumers face in the market, which is the price that consumers are paying. Okay, PC. Is this also the price that the firms get? Okay, that's not true, because even though consumers are paying PC, somebody must hand over the tax to the government. So how do we know what is the price that the firms get after the tax is handed over to the government? Here's a shortcut. Take note of this equilibrium. You draw a vertical line down. Where it touches the old supply curve, which is S0, the price that you read off from the y-axis, okay, is basically the price that the firms get after the tax. Now, let's ask ourselves why this is true. Note that the vertical distance between these two supply curves is the tax per unit, right? Now, because it's a parallel shift, you realize that this distance T is exactly the same as this distance, okay, T. Now, suppose the government is imposing a tax of T per unit. This tax is split between the consumers as well as the producers. To find out the consumer share of this T, okay, take note of the new price that they are paying, subtract off, okay, the new price they are paying, subtract off by the original price that they used to pay. So this amount is the tax per unit that is faced by the consumers. Okay, TC. Now, the specific tax that is faced by the producers, okay, you take the original price that they received before the tax, you subtract it by the new price they receive after the tax. This distance, okay, the difference is the specific tax that is borne by the firm. Okay, so we have TC and we have TF. Now, let's ask the question, where is the total tax revenue received by the government? We have said that QT is the unit that's sold after the tax. Out of this, from 0 to QT, if you multiply this by the tax per unit, this area, okay, this area represents the total tax revenue that is collected by the government. Now, out of this area, okay, since consumers are paying TC, maybe let me change the color of this. If I change the color of this, I'm going to make it thicker. Out of this amount, this area, okay, this area is the tax revenue that the consumers are responsible to pay. Okay, how to get this area? Simply this TC multiplied by OQT. The tax incidence that is faced by the firms, okay, is you take TF multiplied by same OQ. If I change the color, okay, this area. Okay, The orange area represents the tax revenue that the firms are responsible for paying, which is TF multiplied by OQT, whereas the purple area represents the tax revenue that the consumers are responsible to pay, which is TC multiplied by OQT. So there we go. This is the tax revenue. This is the analysis of the tax incidence that arises when the government imposes a tax. Thank you.